Long before modern cities and kingdoms, ancient people talked about giants, real giants who walked the earth. They were called the Nephilim, the Titans, the Anakim. These weren't made-up monsters from fairy tales. They were written about in old scriptures, religious texts, and ancient tablets. Almost every civilization described them, yet somehow they disappeared from history. So who were these giants, and why did so many ancient people believe they really existed? If you read ancient writings from different parts of the world, one thing stands out. They all mention enormous beings with incredible power. The Bible speaks of them. Greek and Sumerian myths describe them. Even old legends from South America tell the same kind of story. Were the giants just stories to explain the unknown, or were they based on something real? The first and most famous mention of giants comes from the Book of Genesis. It says, "There were giants in the earth in those days, when the sons of God came to the daughters of men." Those sons of God were said to be divine beings, and their children, called the Nephilim, became powerful and violent. The story says their actions filled the world with corruption, and that's what led to the Great Flood. But the story doesn't end there. Even after the flood, the Bible mentions them again. In the Book of Numbers, Israelite spies describe the people of Canaan as giants. They say, "We felt like grasshoppers compared to them." Another book, Deuteronomy, even mentions a giant king named Og of Bashan, whose bed was more than 13 feet long. In 1947, a discovery changed everything. In the caves near the Dead Sea, researchers found ancient scrolls, some of which had been missing for thousands of years. Among them were the Book of Enoch and the Book of Giants. These texts go much deeper into the story of the Nephilim. They describe a group of angels, known as the Watchers, who descended to earth and took human wives. Their children became enormous beings who consumed everything: crops, animals, and eventually people. The texts say these giants also taught humans forbidden knowledge, things like how to make weapons, metal tools, and even astrology. In the Book of Giants, a few of these beings, named Ohia, Hatya, and Mahwe, realize that they have gone too far. They begin having dreams about destruction and floods. They turn to Enoch, asking him to plead with God to spare them. But according to the story, it's too late. The giants are wiped out, leaving only the humans to rebuild the earth. These texts were written over 2,000 years ago, long before science fiction or fantasy existed. For ancient writers to record these stories so seriously, something about them must have felt very real. The story of giants isn't limited to the Bible or Enoch. The same pattern appears almost everywhere. In Mesopotamia, the Epic of Gilgamesh tells of a hero who was 2/3 divine and 1/3 human, a giant in strength and wisdom. In Greek mythology, the Titans were giant beings who fought against the gods of Olympus. In Norse stories, the Jötnar were massive creatures made of ice and fire who existed before the gods themselves. Even ancient civilizations in South America told stories of giant visitors who shaped the land and built monuments. These cultures didn't know each other, yet they spoke of the same kind of beings, divine hybrids who ruled the earth and were eventually destroyed. Some experts believe these stories may have started when people found huge bones of prehistoric animals and thought they belonged to humans. Others say they may have been based on tribes of very tall people who lived in ancient times. So what if the giants weren't just about size? Maybe they represented something deeper. In most ancient stories, giants symbolize human pride, the idea of crossing limits, of trying to become like gods. In the Book of Enoch, the Watchers broke divine law. In Greek myth, the Titans rebelled against the gods. In every version, the giants rise, cause chaos, and fall. They could be humanity's way of warning future generations. Whenever power goes unchecked, destruction follows. Still, People continue to search for physical proof, giant bones, footprints, or ruins. But so far, scientists haven't found real evidence that humans of massive size ever existed. Many of the giant skeleton photos you see online are proven hoaxes or misidentified remains of large animals. The giants remind us that even in ancient times, people were asking the same questions we ask today. Where do we come from? How much power should we have? And what happens when we take it too far? The legends of giants might never be fully explained, but they remain one of history's most fascinating mysteries. Whether they were real beings or powerful symbols, their stories shaped how ancient civilizations saw the world and their place in it. Maybe the truth about the giants isn't about size or strength at all, but about the dangers of crossing limits meant to protect us. If you enjoyed exploring this mystery, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell for more deep dive documentaries every week. Tell me in the comments what you think. Were the giants real beings, ancient rulers, or symbols of human pride? Your thoughts might help shape the next episode. Thanks for watching, and remember, every legend starts with a truth waiting to be found.